Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
I feel the same. I've always thought you're absolutely the best and always enjoyed being around you. And
listen to Alan Cutler, folks. It's a pleasure for me and an honor to be on here with such a legend.
Everything you said was absolutely 100% correct.
Man, is this the great Alan Cutler? Is this the infamous Alan Cutler?
Of all the broadcast television people that I've encountered, you are among the absolute elite.
Cut to the chase has a 5-length lead past the 16th pole. Cut to the chase. Victor Espinoza to win it.
Continue doing what you're doing. You're really good at it.
I talk on many radio shows, and you are the best.
Be nice, America. Just have a great day.
Sorry, we have no filter.
I'm Cutler. I wrote Cut to the Chase. Not a good book, not a great book, a spectacular book.
You're a legend here in Kentucky.
You know I love you, man. I mean, you and I have a unique relationship.
Alan Cutler Show all the way, brother.
This is going to sound like really, I think because of me, to be honest. I think because of me.
Hey, let's give it up right here. This is my guy. Yes. I'm so happy to see you.
And keep being impactful. Your name and your vision mean a lot in this state and around the region. So keep doing your thing, Al. I'm a big fan.
You bring a lot of joy to this game, man. Like you bring a lot of joy to the Cats. Yeah, I got a lot of love for you, brother.
Yeah, I remember too, just being at Commonwealth and going over to the other sideline and just like cussing out the away players too. You know, as like a little kid, and just whatever hand signs I was doing to them along with the other BBN. I do remember that. They threw up their wristbands, just throw it right back, that type of stuff. You know, so I was that fan too. But it's exciting. I mean, I cannot wait to see our fans pack out Kroger Field. Can't wait for the catwalk. Can't wait to show them what we've been working.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Good afternoon with Olivia in control, I think, and hope. I'm Alan Cutler, honored and pleased that you're joining us. I love that Stoops soundbite. We'll get into DJ in a second, but have to mention, I think this has happened a couple times before. A couple. 3 Hall of Famers today. Dan Issel on his new book. Art Still, one of the brilliant health freaks, maybe greatest defensive lineman at Kentucky, and a wonderful person. Olivia, he only has 28 grandkids, by the way. And what he's doing in his nonprofit. And Hal McCoy, that's a lineup. That is a lineup. To Stoops, and then we're going to get into DJ, because I can tell you the last 24 hours when it relates to the show has been as wild and crazy as any particular time. And it's interesting because I'm still fasting and how calm I am with all this. 8:30 tonight is 72 hours, and I don't doubt I'm going to make it. I'm thinking about doing another day, but probably not. But that's neither here nor there. Stoops, and by the way, that video was courtesy of KSR. They put it up. Press conference is one thing if it's out there many times, but give them a little love. Fair is fair. Stoops at the quarterback luncheon, that's every single year in Louisville. I love that soundbite. What kind of a goofy, crazy fan he was, and now he's so excited about the season and all that kind of stuff. We have other sound from Stoops from yesterday in his conversation with Tom Leach, as Tom does it every year with the head football coach. I hope we get to it. We might not, because there's so many other things out there. Okay, to David Johnson. First of all, I got to tell you this. I've been accused of this now in the last 24 hours from about 3 or 4 people. And I'm not going to mention the names. It's not important. But I don't do anything for clicks. I just don't. I'm just me, okay? And my feeling is if you're natural, you will get clicks. I don't force it. I understand that's unusual. I also understand that most people, when they know someone has a big mouth, think that they're doing it for clicks. I get it. I'm different. You want to believe it, fine. If not, fine. But I'm as honest as it gets on radio. That's why I call it No Filter. Okay, that's one. 2, when I asked David Johnson to come on, he reached out to me. And I'm thinking of DJ, the guy that I knew, and one of the first things he said, me and Frank Cusimano, who's still doing a great job in television in St. Louis. Frank is one of the greats. He really is. One of the great feature reporters, literally of all time in television. And we were lucky to have him for as long as we did at LAX 18. So Frank and I were the two people that DJ liked. He reached out to me. My thought process was, because he was such a great interview, that he reached out to me, wanted to do the show. He was happy to do the show. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'd like to have him on maybe 3-4 times during the football season to talk about what he sees with Kentucky. One of the things he said yesterday, he hasn't watched Kentucky since he left because he was that upset. That shocked the hell out of me. Shocked me like crazy. He's getting ripped on Facebook by a lot of people, and I sent him a text. We've been texting up and back. I can't believe how classy David Johnson has been answering so many people. Ooh, okay. Art Still is telling me an emergency came up and he can't do the show today. So we'll see what we're doing at 1 o'clock. I'll answer him a little bit later. Talking and texting, Olivia, I don't have that kind of coordination. I do it sometimes, but I don't want to do it in the monologue. Neither here nor there. Art, whatever it is, I hope it's good, and we'll absolutely do it some other time. My respect for Art Still is off the charts. Anyway, I'm just thinking, you know what? He was so smooth. He was an actor. He played in movies. Okay, he was on like the top broadcast team in the NFL. He had 19 interceptions in the NFL. And so I'm thinking, boy, if he wants to kindle a relationship, great. And I do this with a lot of athletes. This is not unusual. And so when he said and we're going to play it in a second, when he said to open up the conversation, I was shocked. But it's a conversation. I'm going to let it go. Why would I stop it? What are you, nuts? What are you, nuts? So if you missed yesterday, and it's crazy, all the reaction that's been around because of it. I just did this because it's real, and it's from his heart, and I believe it's true, 100% true. Olivia, would you hit it? This is the opening remark by David Johnson, who played for Claiborne in the 80s. And as one of his dear friends in the last hour and a half told me, their perspective is Claiborne hated David, and David hated Claiborne. That's his perspective. Here it is.
Stands out to me, and most people that know me know this, is that in retrospect, I made the worst decision I could have ever made in my life. It was me going to UK was the worst decision ever. It was the worst experience ever. Besides my teammates and guys I got to know and hang out with, I honestly don't have one positive thing to say about UK. So that's kind of my experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but I appreciate your honesty, respect it tremendously. Why was it the worst decision ever?
Bottom line is they didn't like me there. I mean, the coaches absolutely despised me. I mean, they treated me with disgust and had no business. I mean, had no problem showing me their disgust. And so yeah, we were at loggerheads my entire time there.
That's really, really, really powerful. And Olivia, you've been around me, has it been a month? Something like that? And I think you know my tones of voice is probably better than I care to admit. Did you feel when I say wow that I was as shocked as anybody listening? Did you get that? And by the way, and I've asked this of Olivia and Jimmy before that, I don't care what you say, just be honest. All I want you to do is be honest. That's all I ever ask.
I definitely felt like you were shocked. Yeah, I mean, I was even shocked. I know my mic wasn't on, but I was sitting here listening to that conversation. I was not expecting him to go into detail like that, to even say that. So yeah, I definitely felt like everyone was pretty wow.
It's interesting, Olivia. There are so many people who have automatically said it's not true, but they don't even know DJ. And a lot of people didn't remember him as a player, and he was a great player at UK, which I find interesting. Somebody saying, oh, it can't be true. People are amazing. People are amazing. I'm glad you reacted that way, too. And if you weren't surprised, I would want you to say that, too. Okay, some more from DJ. So I mentioned that he has responded with class to so many people from the clip I put up that it's crazy. I don't know if I could do it. I'm at the point I probably would ignore it. Probably years ago, at a certain point, I probably might have been nasty. I'm just being real. I've changed somewhat, but I'm not perfect. Okay, so this is one of the things, and I'm taking this from different things that DJ put on Facebook. So this is public stuff. Now think about this. With the long hair, he didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He had no off-the-field issues. Now, by the way, this is not just saying that. Okay, I'm not going to give you a name, but one of his former girlfriends contacted me today. This is a person I know. I'm not going deeper than that. And this person said, yeah, he never drank. He never smoked. He had, whatever. But there's a perception if you have long hair, and DJ wanted to be like Prince. Prince was his hero. Okay, Prince was pretty popular. Hello. And so there's a perception if you have long hair that you're also blank, 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 blank. Okay, we dealt with it in the 60s and 70s. It just the way it was, a perception. And he was told to cut his hair. And Jerry Claiborne told him face to face after his position coach told him to do it. And then he said, Claiborne can tell me. So he gets called in the office. Claiborne tells him to cut his hair. He said he won't because his hair is his own business. Claiborne wanted him to quit. He said, I won't quit because I'm not a quitter. And their relationship was awful from then on. By the way, he was a hell of a player. He was just a hell of a player. Now, he also said he was a 3-year starter at UK. Obviously, I knew that. But he said he could have been a 4-year starter. He had to convince UK to put him on defense. They first had him on offense, and he thought he wasn't good enough to be a big-time receiver at UK on offense because he didn't think his hands was good enough. He said, I can make guys miss. He said, but I knew I'd be a better defensive player. And the coaches questioned if he was big enough to tackle guys. And he said, I can tackle anybody. And so he had to convince them and asked, and he finally got put on defense. Okay, 8 years in the NFL, 6-year starter, and he was on several overall number one defenses in the NFL. And think about this. He had 19 interceptions. 19. And there are some people on Facebook and whatever says, I don't even remember him. Well, do you know Kentucky football? Seriously. Now, it's one thing if you're 18, 20 years old and you don't know DJ because you don't really know history, which a lot of people don't. I'm not ripping you for it, but I get that. But if you're 40 years old and you don't really remember him or didn't know his name, what the blank? Seriously. And there are some people commenting, I sometimes wonder how good of a Kentucky fan you are. But people dismissing him just right off the bat, it used to drive me crazy, but I don't get it. Now, hear about this. He didn't miss a game from his sophomore year in high school to his 7th year in the NFL. Now, this is sarcasm. This was part of one of his things he put up, but I guess I wasn't talented enough to escape that disgust, right? I should have worked harder and been a better player. That's sarcasm, by the way. That's sarcasm. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And by the way, after football, he was a member of a broadcast team, John Madden, Pat Summerall. I know, even though that's before your time, Olivia, you've heard of him. Come on. Hosted several TV shows, had roles on a lot of shows and movies. He was in 2 soap operas. This I did know. He holds a patent in 50 countries, and he says he has a lovely family. And he says, I was successful by nearly every conceivable metric you can think of. So again, what's your sour grapes we were talking about? I was asked the question, and I answered it. Crazy. And by the way, he's the youngest of 5 boys who grew up in a military family. All this stuff I knew, but I didn't get into it yesterday at all. It's interesting. It's just really interesting. Reggie Hansen sent me a text, and he said, DJ is a great dude, man. I used to hang out with the football players when I was at Kentucky. They had a get-together this past weekend, and I talked about it the other day, and I've got some pictures that DJ sent to me, and it's lovely. He put this group together, not just UK players, but people from Louisville and many different schools in the state. He did this. Putting people together. He had a lot of friends. I used to hang out with the football players when I was at UK. They had a get-together this past weekend, and DJ texted me earlier last week to invite me, but I couldn't make it. And then Reggie said, I saw the clip you played. David was ahead of his time. He had long hair, dressed different. In today's world, that's minor, period, LOL. But a great guy. Didn't get in trouble. They weren't ready for that, just like he wasn't ready, like they weren't ready for Rex's situation. Now, you have to understand, Reggie Hansen, if you remember, and Rex Chapman are brothers. They're brothers. They're as so close, it's unbelievable. And I think everybody with a soundbite voice knows that Rex was told he shouldn't date an African-American female who he was really close to, which is disgusting. And we've talked about it a lot, and it's a huge part of his book, and Rex has talked about it on the show. He's talked about it on the show. Van Hiles, who does the show all the time. He said, I saw your clip, and I had to listen to the entire interview. Not shocked totally, but still shocked. Steve Mossy, I hope you're okay with me saying this. He does remember this. He always liked David. I remember it got ugly. I'll talk about that in a second. He said, I had classes at UK with David, good guy, and honestly, we were talking about it when all this Julian stuff was breaking, because Mossy and I text up and back, and I forgot to listen. I will do that this morning. And then he did, and I asked him what he thought, and he gave the conversation a 9.5. Gave him a 9.5. This is what breaks my heart, that he lost his ability to speak because of the PTSD and does speaking exercises every morning. And he doesn't talk like he used to. Now think about it. He's a really disciplined guy. So he had long hair and he was a leader. Now we're going to get into something else here. 1988. I got to tell you, Happy Chandler was very good to me. I'm not going to lie or sugarcoat anything. He was really good to me. And he was a former governor. And he was the one going against the wishes of just about every owner in the major leagues. I think it was but just about every owner in the major leagues, when he pushed Jackie Robinson into baseball. He broke the color barrier. So it's complicated with Happy, and I get it. And it's complicated with Rupp. And I'm not going into Rupp now because I've talked about it, and I get it. Okay? But in a board meeting, this was a huge story in 88. I'm not going to, I had remembered the quote, and I got it again off. It's one of the things you just remember. He used a word that starts with N that I can't use, and I can't even read the quote. That's just me. Doesn't make it right or wrong. Okay? Then David Johnson was a leader in putting together a boycott of black athletes against Kentucky. He was that upset. That upset. Now I can tell you that black basketball players, and I can't give you the source, it's actually sources, all from people I trust, and this is sometimes how you have to report. And so when somebody says, oh, if you can't give the name out, then it's just BS. Well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now, what I don't like, if somebody makes up something and they shouldn't be in the business at all, shouldn't be behind a microphone, shouldn't be on TV, and I couldn't feel stronger about it because it gives people like me a bad name. It just does. Athletes were threatened with the loss of their scholarships. Let me repeat. Athletes were threatened with the loss of their scholarship if they supported David Johnson in his stand about what Happy Chandler said in that board meeting. I'm going to guess 99% of you have never heard that. DJ and I were texting a lot last night. I just sent him a text. Have you taken any garbage because of this? Because of some things that came at me. And this is crazy. He says, oh, yeah, it was insane. Whenever we played Cincy, meaning the Bengals, I didn't know this, and this breaks my heart. He said, quote, I hired a private security detail because the threats were so intense. Now think about it. This is after he's gone from Kentucky, okay? After he's gone from Kentucky. Continuing the quote, and the verbal abuse was so aggressive since it was the closest team to Kentucky. That hurts. It just hurts. And there were things that he received that are just past disgusting. They are just past disgusting. So, I don't know what's in your heart. I believe David Johnson 100%. I do. You can choose not to. I would suggest that you listen to yesterday's show. Rich Brooks was at 1 o'clock, and he said some things that were very open about UK. Loves UK. I love Rich. Seriously, I love Rich. Matter of fact, we teased the show with a picture of his first great. Can you imagine your grandkid having a child and he's holding the baby, and it's a beautiful picture? I love Rich because he was not only a great coach, but he's one of the finest human beings that I've run across because he is no filter. And let me tell you, the program got turned around because of the people he recruited. They were so wonderful that they allowed him to coach. He recruited great people. He and his staff, great people. Great people. And by the way, I'm going to go on a little Rich tangent and go back to DJ. And I've known this, but he said it yesterday. And he said when he left here, it's on the show, when he left here, this was set up for Joker to continue the success that he and his staff and the players built. Now, I knew Joker had fired 3 assistants right away. That's not breaking news. What I didn't know, and this really got to me because he was a personal friend, Steve Ortmeyer, who was the assistant head coach and basically de facto general manager of the Oakland Raiders when they won the Super Bowl, and a great special teams coach. And I helped him find the last house that he bought because he asked me to. We were close. We'll leave it at that. And a great man, by the way. And he found some junior college talent that was overlooked. He was great at it. And by the way, I'd forgotten this part. Rich said, and the team next year lost 3 games because of special teams, and Ort was one of the best special teams coaches, period. So he opened up about that, and he also said that there were times that Stoops couldn't keep some of the players he wanted to keep because he didn't have enough NIL money, which I knew. And I've said on my show many times, but coming from Rich, it just means more because he's Rich Brooks. Just Rich Brooks. But Rich is such a great man. And he loves his players, and his players love him. His players love him. And so I ran this by a number of African-American athletes in the last 24 hours. And this is how I put it. You can have unity on your team, and I'm not suggesting there wasn't, so please don't go there. But I call it, my way of calling it is kind of a club within a club. And there is a bond, which makes sense. Many of you have probably thought about it. Many of you have not, of black athletes with black athletes. For example, there is a bond, and I've talked about this, when Vital used to yell and scream of the Italian coaches. It's a cultural bond. Plus, it's a bond with black athletes because they did not receive what they should have. How long did it take for blacks to get an opportunity to play quarterback? You don't think they talked about it? You don't think they knew it? You don't think they knew it? Come on. And so each person I threw this by said that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Another great African-American athlete who is I trust tremendously, who did not want me to use his name, said he doesn't get what all the controversy of what DJ said. Because it's true. It's true. This person called DJ, and he knows firsthand, and this surprised me, the most underrated player at Kentucky. That to me was a wow. That to me was a big wow. I didn't see that one coming. And so it's interesting to me how many former athletes in a number of sports have reached out to me. And I reached out to some too. But the ones that have reached out to me, it was more. I had a conversation, and I respect Slacks. Susan Lax, who does a great job. She does. And I'm not saying because it's the right thing to say. She knows that too. Reached out to me because UK was mad. They were mad. It was like, why are you doing this? Well, first of all, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. And the day Lynn Martin says I can't do it, this day I'm gone. That's okay. And I have said this many times. The freedom I have is what I have to have. If I don't have it, I'll talk somewhere else or I won't talk. It's all good. I'm not being negative to anybody. And so part of the text, and then we had a lovely conversation on the phone. Part of the text is private. But one of the things that she wanted to communicate to me, and she went to Tony Neely and said, hey, because they apparently got what she said to me, they got a whole lot of people that weren't happy and stuff like that. So my first thought was, selfishly, hey, a lot of people listen to the show, and I know more and more are every time. And none of this is for clicks. None of this. I'm just not afraid to tackle issues that a lot of people either don't know or won't tackle. If that sounds pompous, too bad, because it's the truth. Okay, so and she used caps on this, which she knows I use caps, so I thought it was kind of cute, not something to say to her at the time. And she said the fact that his problems with Claiborne, right? This is a quote from Slacks. The coaching staff that supposedly hated him named him Cap's most valuable senior in 1988. And then she pointed out, which I have too, but I think there's a fairness to say the other side. He went on to play 8 years in the NFL, so he couldn't claim some sort of sour grapes that the coaches didn't let him play or messed him up. They played him, and he wouldn't let him mess him up. That's my response back to that. But there was friction. With another player I talked to today, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but this person isn't African-American, so I think some of you are going to say, oh, my gosh, this is all an African-American. No, this was a really good player at Kentucky, and guess what? It wasn't with Claiborne. It was another coach, and this coach wouldn't talk to him. Yet he was a starter and a really good player. They had a personality conflict. And by the way, if you think this is unusual, you got rocks in your head. The problem is, if you think this is clickbait or I'm just saying it, these kinds of stories don't come out about players not, getting along with the coach or the coach not liking them. I've told the story many times about all the Rupp players who hated Rupp years after they left. Years after. A lot of them respected the hell out of him. Some of them hate him years after. Okay? And Rupp was a great, great coach. It's complicated sometimes. Relationships can be complicated. And Slack says, and I'm all for this. Don't know exactly his gripe. And then we talked on the phone a whole bunch, and I suggested to Slacks, and she said she was going to, and I hope she has. But both sides need to be presented. So, and she said, let's discuss when you can. And when I saw the text, I called her. And this is the part I kind of feel bad a little bit. But, when she's taking all these years ago, and the lead, it wasn't the lead. She didn't realize it wasn't the lead, and that's all good. The lead is the monologue. DJ was the first guest. Makes it look like it's the Kentucky staff. And I'm sorry she felt that way. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I get that, Stein is all about recruiting and any negative thing doesn't help him. Look, I will say this, and we're going to go to a break right after this. I always want Kentucky to win. I don't know how many times I've said that. But there's a checks and balance system, which you don't have enough of today. Okay? Jerry Tipton did it. Larry Vaught still does it. There are some that do it. I'm not going to give you a list. I don't do it for the sake of, I'm just real. I absolutely unequivocally talk about what I feel, and I talk honestly. That's all. And there are times the media can be a checks and balance system that is desperately needed, I think, in this country. I'm not talking about Democrat or Republican. It's desperately needed. And sometimes there is friction between the media and coaches and players and stuff like that. There's friction. Matter of fact, when Cal wrote the foreword to my book, he actually understood, which I'm not surprised, the friction that you can have with the media and the friction that we had, but understood where my friction was coming from. Cal was really smart that way. So there's friction, and that's okay. I don't look for friction. I don't run from friction. Does that make sense? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. I can't be more honest. Can't be more honest. Dan Issel, coming up next. Excited about his book. We'll talk about that in a second. Excited about Dan. I'm excited about his honesty. And one of the greats of all time. I'll tell you, a great dealership. Quantrill, Cadillacs, Volvo, Subarus. We have 3 vehicles. Not 1, not 2, but 3 vehicles from them for over a dozen years. We have the XC60, the Volvo. It's a hybrid. You plug it in. We're saving a ton of gas. Best car we've had in like 43 years, if that's good enough. Saturday morning at Red River Gorge. Coffee in one hand, leash in the other, and your dog already ready to go. Gravel roads, trailheads, and windows down through the bluegrass. That's life in a Quantrell Subaru. Built for the hikes, built for the road trips, and everything in between. Now receive 1.9% interest for 75 months on the award-winning Subaru. The award-winning Subaru, they're winning the 2026 Subaru Outback. See Quantrell for details. QuantrellSubaru.com. Dan Issel coming up next. The great Dan Issel. I'm excited for his book, and I'm excited for what he's done. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
The Alan Cutler Show on ESPN 92.5 and 1300 AM and on the ESPN Lexington app. Presented by Republic Bank.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Ready to feel the surge? Good, because Cadillac didn't come to play. At Quantrell Cadillac, this is power redefined. All-electric speed or gas-fed adrenaline, built to move, built to lead. Right now, get in with financing as low as 2.9% APR for up to 60 months on select models. No limits, no apologies. Just drive. Check them out. I love the Cadillacs. QuantrellCadillac.com. See dealer for details.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. The Bottom Line with Brad Taylor, Matt Jones, and Myron Metcalf. And the Wildcat Drive weekdays starting at noon on ESPN 92.5 and 1300. Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Sometimes the expression, one of the greatest of all time, can be pushed too far. You can't undersell, when you're talking about Dan Issel, one of the greatest of all time, and a great dude with a sense of humor. And he's, I've read half the book, and I'm going to finish the second half next weekend, and I'm telling you folks, I can already recommend it highly. I mean highly. Dan Issel, kind enough to join us. Dan, how are you? Thanks for giving me some time, man.
I'm terrific, Alan. How are you?
You know, for an old geezer, I'm great.
How was your trip to Colorado?
I haven't done it yet.
But it's next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like, I love Colorado. I don't know if you noticed, I actually did radio in Colorado 1,000 years ago in Grand Junction for 2.5 years and loved it there. I love Colorado. I've always loved Colorado. It's a very special place. And obviously for you, because you guys settled there.
Yeah, it's not Kentucky, Alan, but it's awfully close, and there are a lot worse places to be. So we settled here primarily because our kids and grandkids are here. But no, you could do a lot worse than Colorado.
Absolutely. Do you spend time in the mountains? Do you do that, or are you a city boy?
Well, I obviously don't ski anymore, but we like to go up in the summertime. It's a little cooler up there, and it's really pretty in the off season as well. So yeah, we go up in the summertime, not much in the wintertime anymore.
Wait a second. They let you ski playing pro ball? They didn't put in your contract? Don't you dare?
No, I didn't take it up until after I retired as a player, which is why at the age of 35, I never got very good at it. But I did it to, be able to ski with my kids. And after about a year, my kids were so far down the trail ahead of me, I couldn't see them anymore. So I gave it up.
Yeah, no comment. I was the same way. I used to ski at a place called Powderhorn, which doesn't exist anymore, just outside Grand Junction, and just loved it. Absolutely loved it. Doug Brunk and I have become friends, and I have a lot of respect for Doug. And he was so excited when he texted me and then said, "Keep your mouth shut." So I did. That he was going to do a book with you. He was like effervescent. Because how much first of all, he's done a lot of books on the side that are really good, but his respect for you, as you know, as with Goose Gibbons, is absolutely off the chart. And what made you do a book? And the second thing that I think is really important, your honesty in what I've read, because you've done a lot of great things and you've made mistakes. I've made tons of mistakes, and I put it in my book too, but this is not about me, Dan, I promise. But I respect people who say, this is not going to be a fluff book. If I'm going to do it, I'm just going to really do it. And for me, it was painful. So what was this experience like for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you talk about mistakes and things that have gone wrong in your life, it it's not very gratifying. It's not a lot of fun. But I first met Doug in 2012 when he was doing his first book, Wildcat Memories, for UK Press, and we stayed in touch. And of course, he did several other books, including the one with Goose, which I thought was excellent. And we decided at the very outset that we were going to tell the whole story, Alan, that, we weren't just going to have a summary of all the great things that have happened in my life. And believe me, they have been many, but we were going to tell the whole story. And, it's, as you said, it's not fun to revisit them, but I think to give the book legitimacy and transparency, we had to do that. And that's what we did.
I love the job he did with Goose, and I love the job he did with you. It's really that simple. But one of the things I really liked, Dan, the pictures of you as a kid. I loved it. I just love it because I don't mean this with disrespect. I just can't. This sounds stupid. I can't picture you as a little kid, but you're just a little kid doing little kid things and stuff like that. So I thought that was great.
One of the most fun things that I did with Doug, we did the book mostly over the phone, but Doug, who, as you said, is so talented, he came out for a weekend, and we went through all of the pictures from my younger age and decided which ones we should include in the book. And that was probably as enjoyable as anything writing the book.
Without giving the book away, you want to give a little snippet of what it was like as a childhood for you without giving too much away?
Yeah, well, I grew up in my early years on a farm, and athletics was the farthest thing from my mind. And we moved back to Illinois, Batavia, when I was in the sixth grade, and got a pretty late start to my athletic career, and a pretty sorry start to my athletic career. But I was blessed, Alan, that I had some people along the way. My high school coach, Don Vanderschnick, of course, Adolph Rupp, and many Hall of Fame professional coaches that helped me along the way and developed me. So, I had a great childhood. Working on the farm, I think, gives you a great work ethic and an appreciation that hard work can really pay off. But no, athletics early on was the last thing on my mind.
I'm not saying you're Michael Jordan. You were great in your own right, but it seems like there's been a whole lot of great players like yourself who weren't great as a sophomore in high school. And there's some people might quit, but you stuck with it, as Jordan stuck with it. People know Jordan's story, but I wonder how many people know that as you're saying, athletically speaking, you weren't born with a silver spoon, but oh my, how you developed. It was unfreaking believable.
Yeah, well, of course, it helped that I grew to 6'9". And believe me, there were many nights in the NBA I wished I'd been taller than that, but that helped. But again, I had a great fundamental. I don't think I was really athletically blessed. I mean, I didn't run real fast or jump real high, but I had a good work ethic, and more importantly, I had coaches and teachers along the way that taught me how important the fundamentals were, and how important understanding how to play the game was.
You said something that I think is overlooked. There are so many great high school coaches that don't get enough credit who can teach the game very often as good as or maybe better than some college coaches, but that's their, what they're doing with their life. And I'm not saying they're stuck in high school, but different opportunities don't come. And through the years, in the people that I've talked to, like yourself, it's amazing how many credit their high school coaches for teaching fundamentals and stuff like that. And I really appreciated you saying that and not overlooking that, because I don't mean to say they're little people, Dan. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but they can be invaluable in your life as you grow.
Yeah, and it's funny. It was a lot of fun going back and revisiting some of the stories and how important different people were in my life, but the coincidences that happened along the way. Before my junior year, the school board, which my dad was on, decided that we needed to hire a better basketball coach, because Batavia was only 7,500 people at the time, and the entire social calendar was built around the high school athletics. I mean, when I was playing there, the gym was 2,500 people, and you had a hard time finding a seat when the varsity played. But anyway, the happenstance that they would hire Coach Vandersnick before my junior year started was just an unbelievable lucky break for me.
Amazing, unbelievable lucky break that you got with the right coach. And also, I saw that when 2,500 people, and it was tough to get a seat. To me, that's beautiful. Dan, there's a certain little thing, and I hope I'm not giving it too many, because no matter what we do, trust me, you need to read this, okay? But there's a little section in your book I thought of Tubby. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm really trying to get you, by the way. So, come on, Dan. I think we know each other a little bit, but I'm trying to get you. I'm broadcasting it. So there was something you did that reminded me of Tubby. Do you have it, or should I tease you?
No, tease it.
Okay, so, Tubby got the nickname, as you know Tubby obviously really well, because, they took the bath in the tub, and with all his brothers and sisters, very often you didn't get the cleanest water, whatever, and so he got the nickname Tubby because he liked to take the bath and that kind of thing. It's only stayed with him his whole life. Now, tell me I'm out of my mind, Dan, but you took baths in a barrel?
Yeah, well, it was a galvanized tub. We when we first moved to Missouri, we didn't have electricity in the house, or plumbing for that matter. And you'll know if you've looked at the pictures. One of my favorite pictures in the book depicts the fact that we did not have indoor plumbing. But the first building on our farm that had electricity was a new milk house. And so we would go down there, and this galvanized tub was where my mom and dad heated the water for us to take baths. So yeah, we would take baths in the dairy barn.
I'm sorry, Dan. It's classic. How old were you?
Well, we moved. I was born in Batavia, and I lived there till I was 4. And then, as the story is told in the book, there was a reason that my whole immediate family, grandmother, grandfather, uncles, and aunts, all moved to central Missouri. And we were there for 7 years. So I would have been in Green Ridge, Missouri from the time I was 4 until the time I was 11.
Wow. I got to know Kenny Anderson a little bit doing the Bengals radio network. And, I've had him on the air and stuff, but I'm not saying I'm really close to him. And I always have thought forever, if he played for the New York Giants, he'd have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. And he's gotten screwed. And I didn't say it because I was host of the Cincinnati Bengals radio network. I believe it. And had they won the Super Bowl, he'd have been forever ago. Kenny got screwed. And you were boyhood friends. So he told me that. That's the first time I found out about it. I don't remember, 25 years ago, but whatever the heck it was. And he thought you were a better, you thought he was a better basketball player? And he was one of the most quarterbacks of his time.
No. Yeah, in high school, and how ironic, and by the way, I agree 100%. Kenny Anderson is the best player that ever played in the NFL that is not in the Hall of Fame. And that's not just because he's my friend, not just because we grew up together. I honestly believe that. But in a town of 7,500 people, Alan, our backyards butted up against each other. And Kenny's a year younger than I am, but no, he was on the varsity basketball team as a sophomore and didn't start at quarterback for our high school until his senior year.
Wow. Could he have been an NBA player, or he wasn't 6'9"?
No, he wasn't that. He wasn't that good, but he did go to Augustana College on a partial basketball, partial academic scholarship.
I remember when I found that out years ago, and I went, "Are you freaking kidding me? This is one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL." Matter of fact, I think Lapp told me that one time, because I was in the booth for the home games when I was doing the Bengals radio network, and he and Candy Anderson, they were roommates and they're brothers, that, and I'm kind of looking at him like, how could that be? How could that be? The smart part, by the way, the academic part didn't surprise me, but it's funny, through the years, people end up doing something else, even though they're recognized for not their main thing as life goes on.
Yeah, and it's the same old thing. It's the blue collar work ethic. I don't think that Kenny was the most talented quarterback that ever played, but he certainly was smart and let his hard work take him to the top.
Also very, 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 very accurate. He completed just a shade under 60% of his passes. I just looked it up because I wasn't sure. But he set at the time a single season completion record, this I did remember, of 70.6% back then. This is a long time ago, and it was broken by Drew Brees in 2009, and he still never got on a break. I didn't mean to turn this into Kenny Anderson thing, but because of your relationship, I thought it was appropriate to bring it up. And the crazy part that you guys were so close and stuff like that. The ABA, Dan, I love the ABA. As a kid, love the ABA. We used to buy the cheapest seats, which like $1 or something like that, to go watch the net games. And if we gave the usher like $3, if 3 of our friends were going, because we had no money back then, you could sit right behind the bench.
Yeah. There was one night, Alan, that there was a franchise in Dallas. In fact, Cliff Hagan was a player coach for that franchise. There's a franchise in Dallas that eventually moved to San Antonio and became the San Antonio Spurs. But one night during the national anthem, Louis and I counted the house. It was 200, 200 and some people. So I took one half and Louis took the other half, and we counted the house during the national anthem.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story. By the way, he's talking about Louis Dampier, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Okay, you're going to be biased. I have to ask you this question. Don't get mad. You ready? I'm really going to push you here, Dan. Who's the better shooter, Louis or Curry?
Well, I mean, to this day, Louis is my best friend. So I'm obviously going to pick him. The second time that I coached the Nuggets, I talked Louis into moving to Denver and being one of my assistant coaches. I think he was 60 at the time. And I used to tell the press, who do you think is the best shooter? After practice, the guys were just shooting around. I said, who do you think is the best shooter out there on the floor? And, they pick Nick Van Exel or George McLeod. I'd say, no, it's that 60-year-old guy down there at the end of the floor. So I'm going to pick Louis for sure.
Did he ever kind of just start shooting to show the fellers, or he didn't want to do that?
Oh no, he did that. He didn't want to talk. We couldn't get him to stand up in front and give a scouting report or anything. But he let his shooting speak for itself. Louis is the all-time, talking about the ABA, Louis is the all-time scorer in the history of the 9 years of the ABA.
Yep.
And he was an outstanding three-point shooter. In fact, the Colonels had 2 of the best in Louis and Darryl Carrier from Western. But we didn't rely on the 3-point shot like they do today. I mean, if Louis played in today's game and had the skills he had when he was 27, pick a year, I mean, he'd average 30 points a game today.
In the ABA, NBA, or both?
In today's NBA, the way that today's NBA relies on the 3-pointer, and Louis shot as many 3-pointers as some of these people shoot today, in today's NBA game, Louis would average 30 points a game.
That's about one of the greatest comments you could possibly say about a person. Yeah, and the other thing too is the way Curry expanded the floor. I'm going to guess, you tell me, that Louis would have taken, because he could, Louis could have taken much deeper threes, and he did for his time, as I recall. But today, tell me if I'm wrong, he would have gone even deeper and deeper, but it just wasn't the thing. Am I right or wrong about that?
No, you're absolutely right. As I said, that back then we didn't rely on the 3-point shot like they do today, and so most of Louis' 3-pointers came either setting a pick at the 3-point line, because he could, his release was great. He could get a shot off in a telephone booth, or going inside the artists and a kick out for an open 3-pointer. But no, he could have gone deeper than what he did with the Colonels.
You have to be more biased than me. Dan Issel, kind enough to join us for a couple more minutes, I hope. But I always thought with Louis and Artis and you and the other fellows you had, that could have been one of the greatest NBA champs. Am I out of my mind?
No. We only won one championship. We had the best team in the ABA 3 or 4 years. And Alan, I just want to remind people that this book isn't just for UK fans. I mean, it's I talk about my whole career, the high school, Kentucky, the Colonels, the Nuggets, coaching. And so I think even people that aren't big UK fans would find the book interesting. But the fact at the time, John Y. Brown, I think, made the right decision, because the penalties that the 4 teams received for going into the NBA. No television money. Of course, it wasn't much at that time. No draft picks the first year, and him selling the team and buying the Buffalo Braves for the money he got, dispersing Artis and Louis and some of the other players, was probably the smartest thing to do. But I think if he had kept that championship team together, we would have made great noise in the NBA. I mean, I came here to Denver, and the Denver Nuggets, the first 2 years we were in the NBA, we won the Midwest Division in the NBA. So, no, I think if John would have kept that team together and gone into the NBA, I think it would have been a very, very successful franchise.
By the way, I'm glad you said that about your book, because I couldn't agree with you more. You don't have to be just a Kentucky fan to enjoy your book, Dan. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Give me a tease of some other things that you'd like to communicate to folks, because I hope you sell a ton of books. You should sell a ton of books. And if I have missed something that you can push.
No, I just I wrote this book for 3 reasons, Alan. Number one, I wanted something that my grandkids and great grandkids would be able to read and see what kind of man I tried to be. Number two, I wrote it to show people how important my faith and my family is to me, and how they got me through a couple of tough situations. And number 3, to sell one more book than Goose Gibbons. Those are the 3 reasons.
You haven't changed. And if Goose is listening, I'm sure he's laughing, and I can see him saying, yeah, I'm going to sell one more than Dan. the friendly rivalry that goes on. You got a Wild Rupp story for me?
Yeah, I got all kinds of all kinds of
I know you
wild
do.
stories about Coach Rupp, but one of my favorite times was the fact that I got to know had my relationship with Coach Rupp run out with my eligibility, I wouldn't think the same of Coach Rupp as I do today. And the fact that we got to be friends after I left UK was a real blessing to me. I can remember one time, Alan, I was playing in an all-star game in the East-West all-star game in Indianapolis. And of course, Sherry and I were married at the time. And Coach Rupp, we drove from Lexington to Indianapolis. Me, Coach Rupp in the front seat, Sherry in the back seat. And, it's like, hour and a half, 2 hours. And we drove all the way up there. And after the game, we drove all the way back. And we never mentioned basketball. We talked about everything under the sun. And I still can remember to this day, we were driving through the country on the interstate, and Coach Rupp said, "See that field over there with all those cedar trees in it? That's how you can tell that that's poor land. If you see a field with cedar trees in it, that's poor soil." And I don't know why I still remember that, but and then Mike Pratt and Coach Rupp and I had a basketball camp together, and I really got to appreciate Coach Rupp.
I was lucky to get to know Mike Pratt a lot more because of all the broadcasting and stuff like that. And he always wanted to talk about his Browns, the Cleveland Browns, because growing up in Ohio, as you know, that was the game that they got. Mike Pratt was the salt of the earth, one of the great men and great guys that I've ever met, and I know you feel the same way.
I saw recently somebody sent me, I think the Bleacher Report did a list of the top players at Kentucky. And I think they went all the way through 50, maybe 1 through 50. And, there were some people on there that I thought were too high, and some people like Goose at, I think he was 22 or 23, were too low. But the biggest mistake they made on that list was Mike Pratt was not included in the top 50. And if you go back, Alan, and look at the statistics, the scoring statistics, the rebounding, the assist, Mike Pratt is a top 20 player at UK.
Agree.
And the fact that he wasn't included even in the top 50, that was a real omission.
If he was 6'8", he'd have played in the NBA forever, yes?
Well, here is the problem. Mike and I signed contracts with the Colonels. And Mike signed a 3-year deal, but it was heavily weighted in the third year, and the third year was not guaranteed. And so Mike, he basically had no shot because it was going to cost the Colonels a lot of money to keep him for that third year. But you're right, he was a tweener. They tried to make a guard out of him with the Colonels, and that didn't work, and he wasn't quite big enough to play on the front line. So you're right. If Mike was my size, Mike might have been a Hall of Famer.
I agree, and a lovely man, just a lovely, lovely man. When you said that about Rupp, with the drive you took and knowing the land, I'm sure you know the story that he was supposed to be the Duke coach and why he ended up telling them he couldn't be the Duke coach. You do know that story, right?
I don't.
Ooh, I got this from Herky, and then I did a TV story forever ago, and then I actually found, the Google search, just a small note in the Lexington Herald Leader when I thought it would be like the biggest story. So after they pushed Rupp out, he agreed to become the head coach at Duke with Herky to become the head coach when Adolph decided to retire. I never remember if it was August 1st or August 10th. And I don't know why every time I tell the story, I bring that up. But he was then scheduled to obviously move to, Duke and that kind of stuff. He had just lost his farm manager. And that's how, and I'm sure you know this, that's how they made most of their money, through their farm. And because he lost the farm manager, he then told Duke, that he couldn't go because he had to find a farm manager first. You've never heard that story?
No, I've never heard it. I know one thing. I think he was president of the Hereford Association.
Yes.
So for several years, and when you went into his office, his old office at Memorial Coliseum, he had more pictures of cows on the wall than he did basketball players.
Really? Really?
Yes. Yes.
I've never heard that. Wow. Wow.
Pictures of Hereford bulls and him at at some show, or I mean, it was yeah.
When I asked Herky about it, and by the way, this is one I didn't see coming. He was very nice to me. Herky was very, very nice to me. And he let me go in the basement and showed me, he said, do whatever you want. The letters that Rupp received, some went to the FBI because of the threats that Rupp got in the 50s if he ever recruited an African-American to the team. This whole story is a lot more complicated than people think, and I've talked about it. I saw letters, literally saw letters and stuff like that. But with Rupp, I think he's at sometimes misunderstood. Did you feel that, or you don't want to go there?
No, I'd go there for sure. And it was just a different time. I do know, they say that he didn't try to recruit African Americans, and Tom Paine was the first one that he recruited, or the first one he signed. But Louis Dampier told me that he was in the room when they offered Wes Unseld a scholarship. And so it was, and this isn't right for sure. One of the things in the book, and I'll tell this story, I used to, when we went on the road, we'd have the pregame meal, and then I'd go for a little walk by myself to kind of clear my head, and then go back to the hotel and take a nap. Sophomore year, Oxford, Mississippi, 1968. I'm walking around Oxford, Mississippi, and, they had the old southern town with the courthouse in the middle. And out front, Alan, they had two water fountains. One had a sign white and the other one had a sign color in 1968. So, those terrible times of segregation, they're not that far removed. And, so would Coach Rupp be a racist by today's standards? Probably, but he certainly was by the standards of that time.
I think that's really well said. That's really well said. I was told this about you and Unseld. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That Rupp physically, and obviously there's a little longer drive to Illinois than it is to Louisville, that he spent more time physically recruiting Unseld than he did you.
Oh, he didn't recruit me at all.
That's what I heard.
Joe Hall was the one who recruited me, and I didn't see Coach Rupp until my recruiting trip to Kentucky, and that's when I went in his office and saw all the pictures of the Hereford Bulls. But no, Joe Hall was the coach that recruited me. I bet Coach Rupp was barely in the conversation.
It's interesting. When I've told that story before, some people, how people are, say, oh, that's not true. He must have spent a lot of time with Dan Issel, and I already knew it, but I've said, no, it's not true. And people will believe, what they want to believe, and it's all good about that.
And Alan, not to interrupt you,
no, please.
But that's another instance, and I'm not going to tell the story, because if I tell all the stories,
no, please save stuff. This is a lovely conversation without you giving the book away, and I don't want you to give the book away, and I appreciate like crazy your time, Dan. So please understand that.
But my recruitment to Kentucky was another one of those instances that, when I look back at it, how fortunate I was that other players that Kentucky, and Joe Hall always used to say it wasn't true, but they wanted George Janke a whole lot more than they wanted me. George Janke went to St. Rita High School in Chicago, wound up signing with Dayton, who had a very good basketball program. But they wanted him a lot more than they wanted me. And just the the circumstances of how I was finally recruited and how I finally got to Kentucky, and what a stupid decision it was, because they had already signed 11 high school all-staters to, to the program. It's unbelievable the way it all worked out. And of course, the best part was I met this pretty little cheerleader who I've been married to for 57 years. So no, it's just the story of how my recruitment went and how I wound up at the University of Kentucky is unbelievable. And I might have talked to Coach Rupp twice before I signed my letter of intent.
Dan Issel, tell me the name of the book. Tell me when it's coming out. And I have told this to Doug Brunk, when you're coming to town to push the book, I'd love to have you back again. But what I'll also do is, you have book signings around. Give me a list and I will just promote it on the air for you to help you out. I think I owe you that.
Great.
I happy to do it.
The book launch is going to be someplace, we haven't narrowed it down yet, but it's going to be someplace on the UK campus, and it's either October 23rd, 24th. The book will be available November 2nd. You can pre-order it now at Amazon and Barnes and Noble, wherever you buy your books. And one of the things that I hope works out is, my daughter and I are talking about creating a website where you can buy the book and have it personalized, have it autographed or something like that. So hopefully that'll all be cleared up by the time we get there. I will be at several different places signing books. We get to Kentucky October 19th, and we'll be there until November 7th, when they have the Kentucky Book Festival. And so, I really appreciate that. I'll be glad to visit with you again and give you a list of where people can see me.
I'm happy to do it, and you're going to have a very popular stand, because I did the book festival too. Yours will only be about 100 times more popular than mine, and it should be, by the way. It absolutely should be, by the way. No, I mean, I'm just being real. Tell everybody the name of the book again, please.
It's Dan Issel, Kentucky Wildcat to NBA Legend. Well,
Bless you. All I can say is I've read half, and I can recommend it to everybody. It's a pretty simple deal. And it's interesting how quickly I went through half, and I'm going to go through the other half next weekend. I look forward to reading the rest of the book. You have always been nothing but an absolute class act, and you don't act like you know this better than me. There are some superstars that are snobs. There are some superstars that are real people. You're as real as it gets, and you just happen to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, Alan. My father told me a long time ago, he said, you pass the same people on the way down as you did on the way up, so treat everybody right.
That's about as good advice you can get. Dan, bless you. You gave me way too much time. I appreciate you. I respect you, and good luck with the book. And you already know this. Anything I can do, let me know. But I'm telling you, folks, read the book. Thank you, Dan. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Alan. You do the same.
Thanks. Wow. This is, he is just a normal guy who happened to be one of the great basketball players of all time. Of all time. There were so many things in the conversation that were good. About Kenny Anderson, the great quarterback, being a better basketball player as a kid. Louis Dampier could average 30 points today. How he took a bath. Olivia, what was the bath part? Maybe because it was me and I thought of Tubby, whatever. Of everything you heard, because you didn't grow up with Dan, and that's not negative. You're too young to grow up with Dan. But now your perspective, from hitting Dan, what was the most interesting thing? And I know there's plenty of choices. Whatever hits your head, just say it.
Like you said, there are plenty of choices, but I like how he said he met his pretty little cheerleader and that he's been married to her. I think that's cute, just how life works out.
By the way, I don't know Sherry really well, but I've met her and talked to her a few times. She is lovely. She is lovely. And they are as good as good can be.
Like you said, just a normal guy, just one
of
basketball players. You know what I'm saying? It's just cool.
I think a lot of it has to do with how he was brought up by his mom and dad. And that was, I know Dan is this way, but I honestly didn't know about his childhood. I mean, that just didn't know. And when you read the book about his childhood, it's really fascinating how quickly you can see how Dan was the way he was. And the other part, I'm not giving the whole book away, and I kind of mentioned this, he just wasn't a very good basketball player for quite some time, by the way. And if he had a bad high school coach who didn't help him and teach him fundamentals, I don't know if he would have made it as big. But he was amazing. He was absolutely amazing. And the year they won the ABA championship, they were the best team in the world. There's no question about it. And he said what John Y. Brown Jr. has told me, and others I've read through the years, they've had the best team in the ABA for about 3 years. And there's no question there were about 4 teams in the ABA over that time period were as good as it gets in the NBA. And they changed how basketball is. I'm going blank on the name of the series. They did a 4-part series on the ABA, Soul Power, something like that. You can look it up. And I binged watched it like crazy. I love it. I loved it. Thank you, Mike Langfels. He said he loved listening to Dan Issel. I got to tell you, this is a podcast that it'll turn into a podcast as Olivia puts it up after the show that everybody should listen to. It was that special. Really, 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 really special. And Louis Dampier is his best friend in the world. Tom Hammond is one of his best friends in the world. And, with Louis, they played together forever. And it's just incredible how close they are through all these years. Best friend. It's absolutely a wonderful thing. It really is. I have some exciting news to tell you about my friend Terry Page. I have kind of mentioned that I knew she was getting new offices, and she's in them now, and she is so excited. I think this is going to help her business tremendously. She's in the Hamburg area, 1795 Ali Sheba Way, Suite 1102. 1795 Ali Sheba Way, Suite 1102. So they have other therapists and sessions, so when you get an appointment, it's a shared space, so you have to be quiet when you go in, and she's going to ask you to text her when you get there so she can let you in. But she is so excited. I'm serious, so excited to have the move. She's an unbelievable healer. She's an unbelievable massage therapist, and she should never have an open appointment. Never, ever, ever, ever. It's crazy. I don't know why she ever has an opening, and that's from my heart, by the way. That's how I feel. Terry Page, 859-373-0578, 859-373-0578. 7-8 in Butler, Kentucky, Monday and Tuesday, in Lexington, Thursday and Friday. Check her out. Please use my name, Alan Cutler. Thank you, Dan Issel. 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Driving should feel personal, protected, centered, completely at ease the moment you pull onto the road. That's the Volvo difference. Thoughtful design, quiet confidence, and safety always working in the background so you can simply breathe and drive. Plus, the luxury of Volvo is more within reach than expected. That's why Volvo deserves your first look. At Quattro Volvo, friends, Brentley and Mark, they have built a dealership that's calm, respectful, and genuinely helpful. Right now, get 1.99% APR for up to 60 months on most 2026 models. See dealer for details. Visit QuattroVolvo.com today.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just the machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. WLXG Lexington, an LM Communications broadcasting station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
What's been really cool is I got to play in Jacob Tammy's golf tournament alongside Tim Couch. Pretty cool. So like childhood hero to the max, number 2 jersey. My brother and I, who's here, we love the number 2. I end up being number 4, but like the deuce is loose, man. That was Tim Couch. So like I love seeing those guys come around. Andre Woodson was at practice the other day. Wesley Woodyard was at our scrimmage last week. Craig Yeastis came around, and even players that were just, with the last staff, with Coach Stoops, have come around and been present. And it is their program. It's not my program. I get to rent their house out, but they own this place, and it's really cool to be a part of it.
Similar to what Stein has said before, this was part of his conversation with Tom Leach at the Quarterback Club, the annual thing. And it's sincere. It's kind of crazy. I've thought about this before. How many end up coaching at the place they grew up dreaming to play at and then didn't end up playing at? I mean, there are others, obviously. I don't know what the percentage is. Could it be 1%? Could it be 1%? Couldn't be 5%. And so this whole thing it's just crazy. We're going to go to clip number 2 next. And so Saturday's scrimmage, as Stein has said, was better than the scrimmage before. And everybody's saying this, it's not unusual to have a coach not like a scrimmage and that kind of thing. The question is, do you correct it? And it sounds like he corrected it. You're going to hear that as part of the soundbite. And so what they're doing Saturday, and this was part of what he said the other day, but I still want to play the clip. They're getting the team ready. And I don't know how many teams do it this way. I would assume tons do, by the way, because you want to do a walkthrough. So you don't want to be surprised about anything. You don't want to cause a player to hesitate. You want players to know what to expect, so they're not thinking about the things that they're doing, just thinking about the game. It's a smart thing to do. And again, I'm assuming almost everybody, if not everybody, does it. But I like how he said it. So he's talking about last Saturday versus the Saturday before, and then what he's going to do with the team this Saturday. Here's clip number 2.
I was just happy with the week. I thought we did not perform to our standard last Saturday. It was really hot on the turf, about 120 degrees, but all that is an excuse to not play to a standard. And we took the field this week with urgency, with passion, with an intentional mindset to get better, and I felt like we did. So yeah, yesterday, is it yesterday? No, what's today? Monday? 2 days ago. Yeah, we were out there in Kroger Field and really liked the work that we got in and thought we got better.
So he can ask, thought we got better. I've mentioned this before, because people say he's young. Okay, so he's the same age as Rich Brooks when he got his head coaching job. He's the same age as Dan Lanning's when I believe he became the Oregon head coach. I believe. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize, but it's within the same temperature, that kind of thing. And so sometimes the word young is overused because he has a lot of experience. It's just like somebody who, their dad or mom played basketball and they were learning basketball earlier than a lot of other people, and so therefore they have an advantage. Okay, so it's experience, and he's been around, as you know, a lot of wonderful people that have helped him out. And oftentimes, the comments that Stein makes, he's really studied the game. And you can feel it in his comment, clip number 3. He talks about how the game has changed.
The game of football is ever evolving. You talk about college athletics, football is the same. It kind of goes in cycles. There was the I formation years where it was, you had these big Mike linebackers with cowboy collars that ran 5 flat that were 260 pounds, and then stuff started to spread out. That's when Mike Leach and Hal Mummy and guys like Sonny Dykes and Lincoln Riley all, developed this air raid offense that you see in today's football. Now it's kind of going back in time. It's getting a little bit more two-back oriented. So a lot of our offense has been trial and error over the years.
And I like that because that means things will continue to change. I remember a conversation I had with Tony Franklin, who was just a big-time offensive coordinator. And Tony, I consider a friend. And this was when he was at Cal, years after he was at Kentucky. And we were talking, and we don't talk often, but it's often when we do talk, it's for a long conversation. I have a ton of respect for Tony. I mean, a ton of respect. And he was telling me when he was at Cal, he kind of changed Moneyball. He kind of changed the air raid because he was saying defenses were starting to catch up with the air raid. And so because of that, he found himself running the ball more than he had in years past because that's what the defenses gave him. That's what they gave him. So he adjusted. And I think that's really smart. You always have to adjust. You can't be stubborn. It's just like a coach who says, we will only do it this way, but he doesn't have the talent to do it that way. And so you got to, try to take the talent you have, and if it's not exactly the system you want to run, you need to adjust to the talent that you have, and then better do a better job of recruiting the players who have your system, which is what Pope has done now. It looks like he finally has enough shooters. I don't know if they're going to get 30, 35 threes a game. That seems ambitious. We will see that kind of stuff, but he's been talking about it since he got here, and he hasn't been able to do it because he hasn't been able to bring in the right players. I'm not ripping the players. I'm not ripping Pope. They just couldn't do it. And maybe they can this year. We shall see. And if not, they'll be able to do it whether they do it or not, which has to do with spreading in the court. So, you have to adjust. You have to adjust. This is clip number 4, and I really like his opening line. I like it a lot, and it tells you something about Stein that I keep on saying this. This is not, unless he changes, going to be this huge, wide-open offense. Will it be trick plays? Yes. Is he going to run the ball? Yes. Does he believe in moving the chains more than having a wide-open offense? Yes. And here it is.
Yeah, you can't go broke taking a profit. So I know that contradicts what I just said about his week being aggressive, but it is so true. I mean, the position of quarterback is both an art and a science, and ultimately it's about getting as many first downs as you can, because the more first downs you get, the more touchdowns you score. And so in order to do that, you got to know where to go with the ball. You got to be precise. But if they offer you up a free and easy 6-yard gain, we're going to take it.
I love it. I love it. You can't go broke taking a profit. Now, he says, and others have said that the SEC is the closest thing to the NFL. Big Ten, do you like that? But you know what? The Big Ten's got the bragging rights. They won not one, not two, but 3 national championships in a row. And I got to tell you this, if they make it 4, I bet there's some T-shirts with the Big Ten on top and SEC down below. But who has more players drafted in the NFL last year? Again, the SEC. And I'm not so sure the SEC is good enough to win the national championship. Not sure. Don't know that. Duh, that's why they play the games. But if you don't think the Big Ten is going to be really good this year, you got rocks in your head. We'll see. We'll absolutely see. So this is clip number 5. Stoops talking about the best teams.
Totally. I mean, the best teams I've been a part of are player-led. We tried our best from the minute we got these guys to develop real connection. And until you really know somebody, it's hard to lead. So that was the number 1 trait in our program, and what we're going to do every single year is to develop that connection, because teams that are connected, they just play the hardest for the longest amount of time. So I'm convicted of that, and guys like Ty, some other guys in our program that have been here but also been in other places, have done a great job so far leading.
They have done a great job leading, and some of the older players, I think, are ready to really lead this team and help tremendously. We're going to go to clip number 7, and how the world of football has changed since he played the game.
I didn't have to deal with social media when I was playing. Whether you had a good game or bad game, really, you might see some newspaper clippings, or your mom or dad might talk to you about it. But other than that, you really could move on quickly to the next game. Now, there's some really wild stuff that gets said and thrown out there. So it's our job to help these guys through all that. But, again, it's still football. The field's the same length. We play the same amount of time. There's going to be changes. The most adaptable programs on the field and off the field have had the most success. So, that's why, I'm really excited about Jay and what he's bringing to our administration and being adaptable to the times. And that's what we have to do.
And he said this a number of times. Everybody thinks of him as just offensive, but he says the best teams he's been a part of as a coach they've all had great defensive teams. They all have great defensive teams. And so, sure, he's going to spend more time with the offense than the defense, sure. But he said this from the get-go. He needs to be a head coach more than an offensive coordinator. That's why he brought in Joe Sloan. And he, of course, will have a lot of influence, sure. But whatever that influence is, he and Joe Sloan obviously worked out a long time ago, because Joe Sloan didn't have to come here and they both wanted to work with each other. And Joe Sloan is a future head coach. There's no question about it. But he talks to Jay Bateman and the philosophy, and he said something the other day I thought was really good. In the process of scouting whoever they're going to play, he will often send clips to Bateman to say, hey, you might want to look for this play that, the offense will run against you, that kind of thing. So he's involved with the defense. To the same level? No, but as a head coach. And it's not unusual for what? It's not unusual for a head coach who's slanted towards one side, which is all the time, to spend more time with that side, but still pay attention to the other side. And then there are some coaches where, let's say, if you're an offensive guy, the defensive coach is like the head coach of the defense. Okay? And I'm not sure that's 100% this way. I think Bateman has tons of power, a lot more than he had at A&M last year. It's not even close. Not even close, by the way. And he's ready for it. And it's all good. And that's a wonderful hire, I think, and we'll see. So this is clip number 8, kind of a pitch to the fans who were at the annual luncheon.
The people in this room are a part of our team. We're all on the same team. So the louder you cheer, the longer you stay, the better opportunities we have to win. So think about it like that. Don't think about the scoreboard or the time left. Regardless, we are all in it together. We all have to go out there. We all have to perform. And so that's what I'm asking these people in the room, and then your friends, your family. Man, stand up, be loud. If somebody tells you to sit down, that you ruin their view, tell them to stand up. Like, let's get on our feet. Let's make Kroger Field the best environment in college football. And when the offense is out there, be really quiet. And when the defense is out there, be absolutely crazy. So
there'll be some discussion about fans standing up. All of you, I promise you. You can see this, too, that there'll be fans who will really say, I'm standing up. Sit down, I can't see. And I can see some fans say, hey, Stein said we need to stand up. Why don't you stand up? I guarantee you there'll be some fans who won't be happy with that. But I got to tell you, it's like anything else. If everybody starts standing up, it's you know this. It's a totally different crowd. And I like how he's pushing. Stand up, make noise. You know, as J-Bat the AD wants you to get there early and stay late, right? You make more money for UK with all the things you're doing, and at the same time, it creates more of a camaraderie with fans. It does. It does. Good stuff from Stein and the lovely conversation that Tom Leach has every year with the head coach. So very good. Again, if you're coming in late, the conversation with Dan Issel was spectacular. My monologue I really liked. I'm not afraid to say that about David Johnson and what's going on in the last basically 48 hours, not quite. It might have opened a lot of people's eyes. I'm sure some people didn't like it, but it was honest. It was honest and a lot of factual information that I'm sure most of you didn't know. Matter of fact, well over 90% didn't know. And I don't know if you noticed by now, but Blue Lotus Health and Acupuncture, it's special. 859-533-0914. 859-533-0914. Now also providing a licensed massage therapist. So I have kind of a deep cut on my arm. And it created a problem around the cut that I had I'm just telling myself, some red blotches and stuff like that. And I went in last week and Ramon said, what's that? And I told him it was whatever. He said, you know what? He said, I can put some needles around it. And it was really red around it. Not a little bit, but, you know, probably a circumference almost 2 inches around it. And he said, I can put some needles in and I might be able to get rid of that for you. And I kind of thought it would be with me like a week or 2 weeks. As you get older, things just stay with you longer. He was gone the next day. Seriously. When I tell him that today, he'll say, good. But I like what he said. He didn't promise. He said, I think I can help with this and I think I can get rid of it. Because everybody is different and stuff like that. I'm just telling you, acupuncture has been spectacular for me. I trust Ramon Carriega. I trust him a lot. He's become a dear friend, not too far from downtown. Check him out, 859-533-0914, 859-533-0914. Another Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy, talking baseball. Coming up next, Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
The Alan Cutler Show on ESPN 92.5 and 1300 AM and on the ESPN Lexington app. Presented by Republic Bank.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint, so it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
Ready to feel the surge? Good, because Cadillac didn't come to play. At Quantrill Cadillac, this is power redefined. all-electric speed, fat adrenaline, built to move, built to lead. Right now, get in with financing as low as 2.9% APR for up to 60 months on select models. No limits, no apologies. Just drive. Check them out. I love the Cadillacs. QuattroCadillac.com. See dealer for details.
Matt and Myron with Kentucky's own Matt Jones. Weekdays 3 to 5 on ESPN 92.5 and 1300. Now that's sports radio. Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
We're talking baseball. Klazuski, Campanella talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Nuke.
You know, it's amazing. Not only I love that song, it puts a smile on my face every time. And I'm assuming it puts a smile on Hal McCoy's face every time. And everybody that's mentioned in that song, I've followed my basically whole life just like you have. Hall of Famer Hal McCoy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. If I felt any better, I'd hate myself.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. We're just going to get right to it. What is the number one thing in your cranium right now? And I can just see you I'm going to ask this. You're going to have, it could be this, and this. The number one thing that you would say, I'm going to be kind when I throw this at you, Hal, that the Reds are a bunch of knuckleheads, not ripping him, not calling him stupid, not anything like that, but we're going to try to be nicer. Knuckleheads. It's a long list, but what's currently in your cranium?
Abominable. You've heard the abominable snowman. They are the abominable baseball team.
Is there anything good, Hal McCoy, in the Hall of Fame who's covered the Reds over 50 years, right? I do have that correct, don't I?
Yeah, 53 years.
53 years. It's a good thing you don't have a steady job.
I know.
Is there anything above all that would be simplistic to fix?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is there anything that would be simple to fix? Simple to fix.
I don't know what it would be. I mean, the longer this season goes, the worse they get, and it's just so many things have gone wrong. I don't think there's a simple fix. It's got to be a mass exodus of a lot of players that are just not producing.
Do you get a feeling, and this is probably unfair, that they will get rid of a lot of players and a lot of players will want to leave? Which means if you have the right person picking players, you can improve the team. Like, look what the White Sox have done for the last couple of years. They've made a lot of really smart moves. And I'm not saying the Reds can win the World Series next year, but you can bring on, in this world, 10 or 12 players and make some trades and improve yourself tremendously, if not good enough to rise to the top. But get the hell out of last place.
Absolutely. The Chicago White Sox lost over 100 games 2 years in a row and set a record one year by losing, I think it was 122. And there they are, leading the American League Central. So, yeah, it can be done. And I would believe that there are a lot of players on the Reds who want to get out of Dodge, especially the guys who are going to be free agents. And there are some players who are occupying spots on the roster who don't belong there, and I imagine they'll get rid of them. But you said the magic word. If you had the right person making the decisions to acquire players and make deals, they can improve. But I don't think they have the right people in the front office to do that.
Not a fair question. Do you get any feel or sense or inside information that there will be a change in the administration with the Cincinnati Reds, which I think is long overdue, and so do you, and I hate to say somebody should lose their job. I am kind of sensitive about that, but this is sports, and it is what it is. Do you get any inkling at all?
None whatsoever. I know Bob Castellini has already sort of given Terry Francona a vote of confidence, and of course, we both know that this is not Francona's fault. I mean, he's made some curious decisions along the way, but he doesn't have anything to work with, so he can't use his magic touch to improve this team. It has to be done in the general manager's chair and the baseball operations people and the minor league people. but I do not get a sense that anything is going to be changed.
I got to read something directly from your column. As I always say, if you don't read Hal's column and you like the Reds, shame on you. 1, 2, it's the best column out there covering the Reds. Still are after 8,000 years. And 3, you also do a lot of baseball stuff. So give me a second to read your wonderful writing. I got to do 4 short paragraphs. You okay with that?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, those were the AAA Sacramento. I can't do this with a straight face. When I first read it this morning, okay, you know what my thought was? I already knew I was going to do this, but I said to myself, can you do this with a straight face without laughing? Because your writing is so good. So, Hal, forgive me, I failed, but I think you'll forgive me for that, right? This is so good.
Absolutely.
Those were the AAA Sacramento River Cats that, and by the way, I didn't even know the nickname was River Cats. Sacramento River Cats that pinned a 5-0 loss on the Cincinnati Reds. Before the game, the Giants called up a busload of players from AAA Sacramento, and 4 were in the starting lineup, and 1 came on to pitch relief. The Giants lineup from 4th through 9th contained players participating in the major leagues this season for their 6th, 7th, 18th, 35th, and 38th games. As broadcaster Jeff Brantley put it, this is like a spring training B game. I added the B game a couple times. Except the Reds had their regular lineup. It was the Giants lineup populated with minor leaguers. The Giants have 25 players on the injured list. 17 are pitchers and 8 are position players. 1 more. And when the players arrived from Sacramento, they were told, congratulations, you're in the lineup. And by the way, you're facing Chase Burns, and he's 13-2 with a 2.51 ERA, and they banged the crap out of Chase Burns. And I'm wondering, just like you and I have, maybe they should sit him out the rest of the year. But anyway, minor league team, they got the crap beat out of them. I did not watch the game, but I'm just reading this, and tell me if I'm reading too much. Did these guys quit?
That is exactly what I've been thinking in the last week or so. I mean, to get beat by a minor league team, but to get shut out on 5 hits by the worst bullpen statistically in baseball, it just looks to me like all of a sudden they're going through the motions. And when they leave San Francisco, what's ahead of them is unbelievable. 2 series with the Cubs, 2 series with Milwaukee, 2 series with the Dodgers, a series with San Diego, Atlanta, and Toronto. They could lose 90 games.
Wow. I'm going to guess now they won't win a third of those games. Is that being too cruel?
I think you're absolutely right. And if they are just going through the motions the way they look as if they are now, they may be lucky to win that many.
I really hope, and I'm being so sincere. I'm not kidding around. I really hope that they sit Burns down now for the rest of the season. I promise you. I hope that more than ever before after what he did yesterday.
I am with you 100%. You know, you and I both talked about putting him in the bullpen, but after what I saw last night, shut him down. Yeah, it's pretty bad last night. I mean, a minor league team teed off on him. First 4 guys got hits. They got the first 2 outs of the second inning and then gave up 2 runs. And Rafael Devers, the only name I recognized in the entire lineup, hits a home run. I mean, they were teeing off on his fastball.
Yeah, it's interesting. Devers has found himself. He hasn't lost his belly, but he's found himself. He's on pace for over 30 home runs. I'm not sure that he's worth the money, but they're paying the money. So anybody who wants to pay it, God bless, more power to you. I want to use this word, and I'm using it on purpose. And Hal McCoy, Hall of Famer, great writer, dear friend. Can I call you a dear friend? We don't break bread together, but I consider you a dear friend.
I consider you a great, great dear friend.
It's I've told my wife about you and Nadine and stuff like that, and she's gone, wow, you're like my grandfather. Oh, I shouldn't say that, Hal. I'm not trying to date you. Or I had a favorite uncle. He's no longer with us. You've become my favorite uncle, if that's okay.
You can say grandfather. I am old.
Okay. All right. I'm going to use the word and shoot me down if you disagree. Okay.
All right.
It would be criminal if they allow Burns to continue pitching, and God forbid he rips his arm, and is out next year and needs surgery because he's thrown more pitches this year than ever before. And enough is enough is enough is enough. Is the word criminal, Hal McCoy? Is the word criminal too strong?
No, I stand right beside you. I'd use the same word, and I may use that in my next blog because I am going to say they should shut him down. He's beyond all the innings that he's ever pitched. His location and his fastball speed is down a little bit. He needs to shut it down, or they're going to ruin the kid.
You know, we've talked about this before, but Skeens looks like a shadow of his former self, and we're both wondering if he has an injury problem. And then, you know, the picture of him walking on the beach when he's got a little bit of belly, and of course he's standing next to Dunn, his girlfriend, who's, you know, in one of the great shapes of anybody in the world, so he's not going to look as good. And you know, Tom Seaver had a belly, so some of the comments about Skeen, he doesn't look like he can pitch. Take a look at Tom Seaver without his shirt on. I remember Tom Seaver saying, and I know you know this, and you probably wrote about it, that he said they don't pay me all that money to pitch with my belly. And he would go to sleep with something covering his arm to keep his shoulder thing. So that thing is overlooked. But my gosh, he's not the same guy that he was a month ago. You got to sit him down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Terry Francona took him out after 3 2/3 innings, and I think it was 65 pitches, maybe. And they asked him after the game if they took him out because of the way he has pitched recently. And he said, yeah, he was not going to push him any farther. Well, now's the time to not only not push him any farther, shut him down. Say, you're done, kid.
I don't have an answer. You know Francona well. I've just thought about this. And again, I'm not speculating because I don't know. Tito doesn't have to manage. He certainly can't imagine he needs the money. He's too cheap to buy clothing. He teases about that. And I know he wants to stay in the game. But I wonder if managing the Reds, and I'm not trying to be mean, with the no hope for the franchise for next year, if the frustration would make him retire again. And whatever he's thinking, you don't make a decision right after the season. You sit and wait a couple weeks and think about it. Making a decision right after the season when you're tired and upset and all that kind of stuff could be a terrible thing. But I wonder, as much as he loves the game, would he sit out and hope that another team who has a better shot of winning would talk to him again? Because if not, he's done after this. And I think he loves the game too much. I guess my point is, I wonder if the frustration has gotten to the point with him that he doesn't want to do it anymore. I'm not speculating, but I've seen some of his press conferences where they're short and you can feel his tremendous frustration. Hal, I don't know. You know him better. Do you have a taste or feel about that?
Yeah, his answers in the press conference are getting shorter and shorter, and he's getting a little short with some of the questions. But baseball is his entire life. He has nothing else. He loves the game so much. He's making $4.5 million, which is probably nothing to him. He doesn't, like you say, he doesn't care about clothes and cars and houses and all that, but he just loves the game so much. But he had to have some promises when he signed up with the Reds that they would put a good team on the field, and they certainly have made no move towards doing that. And yeah, I got to wonder about his frustrations too, whether he wants to go through this again next season. But as I say, he loves the game so much, maybe that something like this doesn't bother him that much. But just seeing his demeanor and the way he acts after the games, with he stammers and stutters a little bit when he gives his answers. I think he's probably fed up, and unless they do something in the off season to turn things around a little bit, I could see him walking away. Yes.
You know, it's going to sound like I'm being mean here, but I'm surprised the Reds would cough up $4.5 million to pay him, because if he leaves, it wouldn't surprise me if the next manager doesn't make $1 million.
Right. You're exactly right. They didn't pay David Bell that much. And
what did David Bell make? I don't remember. Do you remember what he made?
I think it was a couple million. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, but as far as managers go and baseball players go, that's a pittance.
Yeah. Who's the highest paid manager? Is anybody making $10 million? Would be probably Dave Roberts. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Roberts and Craig Counsell. Craig Counsell, Milwaukee, or the Cubs signed a huge contract. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's in the neighborhood of $10 million.
Yeah, I think by now Counsell might be to $10 million. He didn't get $10 million going there. I don't remember, it was 8 or 9. And Milwaukee offered him a ton of money. And
right.
Hindsight is wonderful, but he should have stayed. Maybe he should have stayed in Milwaukee. Although the Cubs are doing really well now, and they're paying Murphy, I'm sure, a fraction of that because he came from being, a coach. Is he making Murphy making $2 million?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Counsell went to the Cubs for the money, and Milwaukee, as they always seem to do, they trade Freddie Peralta, they trade Willie Adames, and there they are, best record in baseball. They're amazing.
Maybe not fair, but I don't see Francona up close for most of his career. And so it's different when somebody becomes up close and you can see, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but at times you can see warts. And I said this early on that I think he's too strong to extra players because he was an extra player and has empathy for them. And I think it's a weakness with him. But I wonder, with some of the moves that he's made, is he losing his touch, or does he think he really doesn't have a better option because the options on the bench aren't that good? And I can't figure it out. Am I in left field, or do you feel or see some of that as well?
I see it, and I think you're absolutely right about him being an extra player most of his career. So he has empathy for the players who are extra players. Good example, they call up Johnson, who can't hit a lick. What does he do? He sticks him right in the lineup last night, and Rodriguez is back on the bench. I see this happen time and time again. They bring up these young players who are AAA players, but they need them because of injuries or other players not performing, and he sticks them right in the lineup.
If I remember, Johnson, it wasn't even doing great in the minor leagues, but they needed a body, and Rodriguez was killing it in AAA and started off horribly slow, but you might as well play him. I'm not saying he's Spencer Jones, but Spencer Jones, when he started with the Yankees this year, he was bad enough that they sent him back down, so they brought him back up, and it was slow, and now he's hitting really well, and sometimes you need to adjust. So why the hell, since you're not going anywhere, just put Rodriguez in every day and see if he can get through it. I look at Spencer Jones now because I watch Yankees all the time, and it doesn't take a genius to see his body language. He's much calmer. He's more relaxed. He's more relaxed in the interviews. You can see it in the body language tremendously. So my sense is if Rodriguez could calm down, he'd have a shot of maybe becoming a player. But the couple times I've seen him, it's kind of like, you look uptight, kid, and I'm not blaming him for that, but, it's not instant gratification in the major leagues with 98% of the players.
Yep. What I notice about Francona, too, is he's like most managers. He is so wrapped up in this left versus right and right versus left. That's why Johnson played last night. The Giants started a left-handed pitcher, and Johnson's right-handed. Rodriguez, if you're going to make a everyday player out of him, he's going to have to hit left-handers too. Put him in there. Let him play. Let him see if he can do it.
Well, the big thing, I'm comparing to Spencer Jones, that he couldn't hit left-handers, and it's only a small sample size. But his batting average is much higher against lefties, which is shocking to everybody. But when you see it every day, you can adjust. And he's also not swinging as hard as he was all the time like he was the first time up. But that's neither here nor there. You got to play him. You got to play him. I see, is this Francona's decision, or are people above saying you need to split platoon the way he does? I wonder who's making the powerful decision. Are they shoving it at Francona or not?
That's another reason why I could see him walking away. If they are forcing this stuff upon him from the front office, Francona is his own man, and he would not take that for very long, and I could see him walking away if that's the case. I don't know that, but it sure would indicate that the front office is having a lot to say about it.
I hate to be diabolical, But with somebody in the front office pushing on Francona, knowing that he doesn't like it, knowing that he'll probably just leave, and then hiring somebody else to save money because they know the team is not good enough to win big, that's a crazy conspiracy theory. But we've seen people do this in sports before.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. I don't know if Castellini was just making a show when he gave Francona a vote of confidence, but he also said we have a bunch of winners in this clubhouse, and I'm saying, well, you got a couple of them. I don't see too many more.
I'm curious. No, I'm rooting for the Yankees, and I always want the Reds to do well, but I'm rooting for the Yankees more because that's just, I was born a Yankee fan. But if the Yankees can't win and the Reds can't win, which I'm not sure about the Yankees, we know about the Reds, I would love to see Tampa Bay or Milwaukee win. If either one of them gets that far, I'd love to see them play each other. I mean, I would love.
I was going to say, that's my feeling exactly. I'd love to see Milwaukee and Tampa Bay in the World Series. Wouldn't that be something? The
oh my gosh,
two smallest markets and smallest payrolls. It could happen. They're both playing very well.
I would wonder if the TV ratings would suck if Milwaukee and Tampa Bay were in it because they're not big TV markets. You know this. You've known this forever. They want New York and Los Angeles and stuff like that, or throw Chicago in. Only the big cities because of the ratings and stuff like that. But I wonder if there would be a fascination with people watching, going,
the novelty,
the little guys that can actually do it. God bless. Let's root for somebody.
Yep, I think that would draw the novelty of the thing.
I only wear Yankee T-shirts. But if one of those two teams would win it, I think I would buy a Tampa Bay T-shirt or Milwaukee T-shirt just to show that the little guys can do it. Hal,
I have a Tampa Bay hat and a Milwaukee hat that I wear around the house at times.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? Is there anything else in the world of baseball, obviously away from the Reds, that's on your cranium that you're going,
I am still stunned from what I saw last night. I mean, as I said in my story today, it may have been the worst defeat in the history of the franchise, and that's saying a lot. But I just wonder what's going to happen tonight. I can't wait to see what happens tonight.
Do you know if Francona's called a players' meeting at all? Because it seems like after last night, and you're losing to what Brantley, as we said, is a B league, a B kind of a spring training game. I don't know if he's big on meetings. I was always told he's not.
No.
But if you're ever going to call a meeting, don't you call a meeting now? Like, okay, we're in last place. We get to play hard today.
I would think so, especially with the schedule that's coming up. But he is not a big meeting guy. He likes to do one-on-ones, and he's not big at standing up in front of the whole team and addressing them that way.
God bless you, Hal. A joy to have a conversation with you. Hopefully we can do it next week. Yeah, you know what? If the Yankees don't win and the Reds don't win, I hope you're wearing a Milwaukee or a Tampa Bay hat or shirt, and you'll have to send me a picture.
I will do that.
Thank you, my friend. Tell Nadine hi. I don't know your wife, but the way you've talked about her, I feel I know her just a little bit, so tell her I said hi, too.
I will do that. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on, as always.
Thank you, Hal. You're the best. The best.
All right, buddy.
See you, man.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you. You too. Livy, isn't it obvious, like to the whole world who's listening to the show, whoever it is, how much I love Hal McCoy?
I think so, yeah.
Does he come across like your grandfather?
A little bit, yeah. But if he's your grandfather, he might be like my great-grandfather or something.
Something like that. And the stories he has. I don't know if you've ever read his column, but he has these things that go years and years back. Oh, I just hit me. I forgot to ask him one thing. Somebody asked him about how many columns and stuff like that. He said he's written over 21,000 baseball stories.
That is crazy.
Actually. I thought today's show was special. I just got a text from somebody who I respect, said what I did in the first half hour, that I was fair. We're talking about the David Johnson conversation from yesterday. Dan Issel was spectacular about his new book that's coming out. You can pre-order it on Amazon, and it will be in town in October, pushing the book through the first week of November. We'll talk more about it, but I've read half the books, and I'm telling you, you don't have to be a Kentucky fan to enjoy the book. You can be an ABA fan, a basketball fan, whatever. And Hal McCoy is Hal McCoy. I love Hal McCoy. It's pretty simple. Olivia, thank you so much for your quick movement when I'm asking for things. You've become a pros very quickly for survival purposes, right? She's not here. Yes, I deserve that. I did deserve that. Coming up next, Brad Taylor, then Matt Jones and Myron at 3 o'clock. Check them out and check out Wildcat Drive after that from 5 to 7. Have yourself a blessed day. No show on Friday, Reds baseball. Have a wonderful lineup ready for tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a blessed day. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling a friend. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Driving should feel personal, protected, centered, completely at ease the moment you pull onto the road. That's the Volvo difference. Thoughtful design, quiet confidence, and safety always working in the background so you can simply breathe and drive. Plus, the luxury of Volvo is more within reach than expected. John!
When you're ready.
Hey, did you hear the monologue, by